wanted to share what I'm having for dinner. It's Valentine's Day, so of course I'm spending it alone, but it's all good because I just had a bath. I actually hoped it would be longer, but unfortunately someone used all the heated water. I don't know if you have this issue, but here we do. So I was actually getting pretty cold and I just decided to step outside the bathroom and change into new pajamas. And then I didn't make dinner, of course, because I'm so bad at cooking, generally speaking. But my father and my mother did, my parents did before they left, because they had a sort of dinner with friends, but everyone made something and then they all ate together what they bought. That's something we do pretty often here. But they did some really good swordfish. I guess it is swordfish. And let me show you. Okay, so that is the swordfish. They made it in the oven with some potatoes and of course some breading. It's delicious. And then what I did to sort of complete the plate, to finish it up really, was getting some crackers and crackers, I don't know, and then putting some pepper cheese on and some salmon. And that's it, that's my dinner. Then I have some mayo, some vegan mayo, and then a Coke. And I'm going to eat my dinner while watching this new TV show. I actually really wanted to watch Love Me, Love Me, which is a new movie. You know those movies that are really trashy, Wattpad stories that you might watch on a day or on a night like this, on a Saturday night like this. Oh my god, that door really freaks me out. But yeah, I wanted to watch that, but I'm actually waiting for that because tomorrow night I'm meeting up with my girlfriends and we're going to watch it together. Just to have a fun time and something to do. So I decided to start this one instead because I just finished watching Eater Rivalry today. And it was something, but I mean, I dreamt of love today. Like, what better way to spend Valentine's Day if not watching Heated Rivalry right now? That is peak romance. And I'm going to discuss about what I've been watching and what I've been reading lately in this same video, I guess. I'm going to put together some bits of when I was able to film and just talk about stuff. And it's gonna be very nice. Also, I have a pimple in case you hadn't noticed. But yeah, this is my Valentine's Day. But tomorrow also we ordered with my girlfriends a very sweet cake. So I'm going to try and film it and film some of what is going on tomorrow night. And I'm very excited because it will be like our Valentine, even though one of my friends has a boyfriend, but never mind. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to film a bit if I can tomorrow. Yeah, definitely we're going to have a good time and make up for this very lonely day that I spent on, which actually was pretty nice. I worked out, I sang a little bit because that's usually what I do when I'm bored. As I said, I watched Heated Rivalry and I edited and I uploaded my first video that is already up. And then that was pretty much my day. Then I had this bath and now I'm having dinner. And obviously I had lunch with my parents, which was also nice. And I woke up to my mother leaving a sweet note for me and some chocolate, which was really nice of her. I loved it. She has this sweet tradition each year. She leaves us, me and my brother and sister, this by our bedside, and it's the sweetest thing that she can do. And each year she writes something different. And this year it really warmed my heart what she said, because it was about growth. It wasn't about looking for a boyfriend as she sometimes puts in, but that was a really sweet way to wake up. And that's all I did today. So now I'm going to go and enjoy dinner. Okay, I just finished watching the first episode of Love Story. It was really good. I really loved the editing, the songs, the feeling, the vibe, and the actors. Oh my god, they're like two of the hottest people I've ever seen in my life. and the chemistry is chemistry, and overall I'm just really enjoying this. And I'm about to watch the second episode, but first I wanted to make myself some tea. And I bought this tea, well, my mother bought it from this place called Masala Herboristeria Officinale. So it's a place that makes tea, right? But not only tea, like all sorts of mixtures and stuff. And they're really good because they all have very interesting tastes, I think. And this one obviously is perfect for Valentine's Day because it's literally called Love Tea. And it has little sugary hearts in it. And like, it's one of the cutest things I've ever seen, and I'm really excited to try it out. So now I'm gonna make myself some, just keep ourselves in the very lovely mood that I'm having. So obviously we're gonna use this. Love mi fa cagare. Hi, so Carly here today because it's a different day and I was just too lazy to do my hair the proper way. So this is what you're gonna get. And also I always wear this outfit because at the theater school where I go to, we must always wear the same things, like total black outfits and the academy t-shirt. So that's why you might see me more than once wearing the same stuff. I'm an outfit repeater. I'm not going to be ashamed of that, but it's not like I don't wish to sometimes play with my outfits. I really wish I could, but then at the end of the day, I just never have the occurrence to do it because it's really rare that I, you know, just go out. I mean, it's just rare for me to go out to maybe have a drink or something. So I never plan cute outfits because the outfits that I need for work or for theater school, they all have to be really basic because I have to be comfy while doing work because I work with children, and also while doing theater lessons there's a lot of dancing and stuff. So I always end up like wearing really boring stuff, and you might see me more than once wearing those things. But maybe I'm gonna try and find time whenever I can to put a cute outfit on and film while I'm dressed differently, just to, I don't know, vary a little bit. Actually, during January, I followed this checklist of things to do each day, really low maintenance things to do every day, just to romanticize winter and just, I don't know, painful time of year for most people. And it was really funny that one day I had to put on a cute outfit following that list requirement for the day, and so I did, and I actually had so much fun putting something different on. I figured that I should do it more and treat myself more. But let's try. Like, I'm here because I've told you in the previous clips, and I've started editing this already, that I would tell you about what I'm reading right now, what contents I'm streaming. So I don't know where to start. I think I'm going to start with the shows and the things that I'm watching. So I still have to finish, like, I'm missing the very last episode of Love Through a Prism, an animated series, and it's on Netflix. It's quite recent, and I just found myself enjoying it so much. I would watch it. It has very short episodes, like about 25 minutes episode long, I think. And I found myself like really being entertained by this little TV series. It was a really sweet story, and I'm hoping for a good ending, but I cannot tell you about that just yet because I still have to finish it. But I really, really liked it. It just basically follows this sort of fun family of students from all over England, as well as the main character, the female lead, who is from Japan. She goes to England. I think it's the beginning of the 20th century because they mentioned the war at some point. Spoiler alert. So, this girl from Japan, she has obviously never been anywhere in her life, but she goes to London to attend this very prestigious art school. And her parents have kind of told her that she has 6 months to be the best in her class and to prove them that this painting thing is worth something, I guess, because she has obviously. I feel like Asian parents are often, I can say that's the case always, but like they're often portrayed as very strict and serious. But she goes there, she's very determined to be the best in our class. But while there, she meets this guy, obviously, who's this closeted, introverted, yet very charming student at the school who couldn't be more different from her, not only in terms of personality, but also in the way he approaches painting and art in general, because he doesn't really care about marks, he doesn't care about being first. However, he's so good that he always has first place, but he doesn't care about any of that. So she kind of rediscovers the joy for art and painting thanks to him and thanks to the way he views things. And obviously, there's something more to it because they sort of develop feelings, even though they're very restless about admitting them to each other and finally saying the words. And they also fight quite a bit because they have such strikingly different personalities. And it can be a little bit annoying because of his post traumas and stuff. It just has a hard time communicating, I think. It's very evasive and all that. But I not only enjoyed this dynamic of the relationship, but the whole like series as a whole. There's also this found family, as I was telling you, because there are different students who attend the school, and we learn about each one of them and about their own dreams and what their path in life might be, which may also vary from an artistic pursuit, I guess. And they're all very enjoyable characters. I really love the closest friend that she makes at school, which is this quirky girl that comes from the Cotswolds, and there's an episode about the Cotswolds. And mind you, like the graphic of the show is amazing. I just really love the drawings. It's so well made and it's so aesthetically pleasing and satisfying. So there's like a very cozy vibe to it, and I think that, I don't know, if you're here for the cozy vibes, this might be a good recommendation for sure, and you should check it out. Then I obviously said previously I was watching it on Valentine's Day, and now I'm completely addicted to it. Love story, American love story. I know some people are like, this is not very ethical to just focus on real people's lives, but I mean, I don't want to say that I don't care, but I'm just trying to see this, to watch this, what not necessarily linking the facts and the storylines in the show to the real life people, because obviously it's all fictitious. And what happened, I mean, behind the scenes with their lives, even though I really didn't know about Caroline and John F. Kennedy at all. And then suddenly, obviously, they're everywhere on my Instagram, on my TikTok, and they surely were very gorgeous people. I don't care about learning what's up with their relationship, if they were toxic or not. I'm just here to be entertained. I'm sorry. And I just really love the actors. I love to see new faces on my TV screen, and I think the chemistry is very phenomenal. As I was saying, they're very good looking, but they also have a really strong chemistry that I feel like actually so rare to see on a screen nowadays. We get fed so many love stories and so many things, and most of the time people are just so ready to jump in and say, well, they're one of the best shapes, they're one of the best couples I've ever seen. And I'm like, are they though? Like, yeah, they're cute. Yeah, the writing might be cute, But like, do these people really make me feel like I'm interrupting something? Oftentimes the answer for me, at least, can be no. I'm not like 100% sold. But man, am I sold for these people. I think they're just phenomenal. So definitely like following the weekly release of each episode. And I wish I could just consume more right now because I'm really invested in this story. And I mean, you can look it up. It's probably already everywhere, so you may know a little bit about it. But it's basically about the life before and after Caroline was set and Jeff Kennedy Jr. met, and how their relationship kind of developed up until their tragic last moments and the accident, the airplane crash. And I don't even want to think about that. That last episode is going to really wreck me emotionally. And I'm just focusing on how like this show is sending me back to those 90s old rom-coms whose vibes were just unmatched. I really love a good old rom-com, and I think that feeling is never quite achieved. Recently I've also watched People We Meet on Vacation. I know that a lot of people liked it, and I liked it too. But then I see stuff like this and I'm like, was it really that good? I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like that to achieve that rom-com feeling for me, maybe because I watched so many of them when I was little and it was actually the early 2000s. But to achieve like that specific feeling, you have to set it in that time. I'm just guessing this at this point because nothing that is like taking place in recent years feels romantic to me anymore. Maybe it's just the modern world, I don't know. So mainly I've been watching these two things, and then what else, because I always like consume so many things at once. I'm one of those annoying people who do that. I never quite finish anything, but I am sure watching anything that you can mention to me, or I have watched it partially without finishing it. And I know it's bad for me. It's just the way I'm made, and I have very few exceptions in terms of what I have finished when it comes to TV shows or even books and stuff. But I'll definitely finish American Love Story, and I'll definitely finish, I think later today, Love Through Prism. And obviously, I'm waiting for the release of the last 4 episodes of Bridgerton. Do I like this season? Yes, it was much better than season 3. But I still feel like the level of joy that I had while watching season 2 is never going to be like that again for me when it comes to Bridgerton, because Kate and Anthony really did it for me. I am really touched to their story. I even have the book. So, like, I must say, I'm really loving Sophie and Benedict. I think their dynamic is very interesting to explore, and I think the actors have great chemistry again. Still, I cannot say that I screamed on my screen most of the time. Benedict has been one of my favorites, but not my favorite. And also, I don't know, I'm just not as invested as I thought I would be, or maybe I always thought that I wouldn't be. And it's okay. It's okay to also enjoy things casually, and it's still made me have a good time, and I'm still enjoying this season. So I'm really sure that the last 4 episodes are going to be more thrilling in terms of stuff that happens. So I'll probably update you on that and how I really felt about this new season. Let's talk about a little bit about books and what I've read recently. Well, actually, January was a great month for me, but February was not as good. I'm really stuck on a book. So in December 2025, and now it feels, just saying that feels like a long time ago, but whatever. 2 months ago, I started reading this Woman Kingdom series. Okay, I was heavily influenced by TikTok and reading that because everyone was talking about the level of yearning that is in there, and like yearning is one of the greatest, I don't know, things that you can put in your love story. Without yearning, I'm really not interested. If does not pass through, then I just won't care. I started reading and I got completely hooked. Listen, because the first one was actually sort of boring, actually. I mean, it wasn't boring. Was still like interested in what was happening and getting to know the main character, and I was liking all the characters. But obviously, I was really driven by the knowledge that the character that I was waiting for, and that is Cyrus of Nara, was going to appear much later in the books. So, because of him, I kept on reading and reading and reading. And then finally he appeared, I think he appears at the end of the first book. And from there, I was just completely blown away by him. And it was, I don't know, a very quick read for me. I read like 4 books in about a month, and that is not something I usually do because I'm a very slow reader. And I also like to enjoy things slowly, but like I could not physically put down my Kindle, actually not my book, but my Kindle, because I just wanted to keep on reading. And I think it helps also the fact that we're on the 4th book and still they haven't kissed. Nothing has happened between them. And I'm one of those people who gets really hooked when there's this conflict in the relationship that is not quite solved up until the end. In a way, it's frustrating, but in another way, it just keeps my interest really high. That's what happened with this book. So I wanted to keep on reading. And then also I got very, very involved with the characters. I think that Alice is a really good character. I just loved her so much because she's not like those strong-willed, sort of meanish female leads in fantasy, romantasy books that we see nowadays. She's actually very well spoken. She's actually very kind. A greatest strength most of the times is exactly this grace and this kindness that she gives to people. And I think that that is really refreshing and just something that I want to relate to more rather than, again, that sort of mean attitude that describes so many female characters in fantasy. I just really love that she balanced this side of her while also being attached to her morals and to her calling, which is obviously to save her people and her kingdom and to free so many people from years and years of abuse and discrimination and all sorts of terrible things. So I really like that about her. I really obviously loved the character of Cyrus. It kind of pissed me off at times. I mean, all characters kind of did. But I think that that's actually a good thing when they do, because otherwise, where is the conflict? But he's a very witty character. He's this sort of boy suffers in silence and keeps everything to himself, but he does that for ulterior reasons. And I mean, I don't want to give away spoilers, but like the fact that we discover that everything about him that you could never like possibly be able to justify, then actually makes sense for the good person that he actually is, for the very self-sacrificing lamb that he basically is. And even just before learning all that, he has that appeal because he's just a man who does everything in his power to try and resist the female character, but he just can't help it, and he just suffers so much. I mean, he's one of the characters that I've read that suffered like so much. The amount of pain that he goes through throughout the last 3 books specifically, my god, like he deserves a break, and I really can't wait to read the 5th book and finally, hopefully, seeing him happy. I'm looking forward to that. But then I got into a slump again because I'm reading. Again, I'm not focusing on one story, and that is probably like the issue there. I'm not focusing on one story anymore. I finished these 4 books and I wanted to like look up for something with a similar vibe. That's why I started reading The Jazz Hair. But I quickly realized it was a completely different vibe. In a way, I appreciate the writing more. I think also the world building is much more detailed and put together with such logic and intention. There are many names and words that I just won't ever remember. But when it comes to the characters though, and that's why I'm always going to be more driven towards good characters rather than good world building, to be honest with you, like, are not really much speaking to me. I don't want to speak too soon because maybe it's one of those books that are asked to grow on you. But definitely up until now, I'm on 50% of the first book. It's a duology. I'm not really liking anyone. And maybe that's the point, because this is again a very fractured world where people are being hunted down by this very rigid, and I can never find the right words whenever I need them, cruel sort of kingdom. It's not quite a kingdom, an order of knights or whatever. I'm reading this in Italian, so it's even like more difficult for me to describe what's going on. But here again, I can see a world that has kind of broken down these characters, and by reflection of that, as a consequence, they're like just awful people. Maybe I'll come to justify them and their actions, but still they have a very different vibe and personality from this woman kingdom. So I was like clearly very blindly jumping into something actually different, I figured, and that's okay. But I'm just a little bit disappointed because I thought that I would, I don't know, read this just as quickly, but I'm taking my sweet time with it. And that's why I also kind of downloaded other books in the meantime, and one of those is a non-fiction book that you've probably heard about, that is The Courage to Be Disliked. I'm reading this in Italian as well. I'm only on like 10% of this book, so I can't even talk about it, but I'm reading it. And then I'd started Emily Wilde, but again, it was a sort of writing that I think it's a little slow. It's in a diary form as well, so did not get too caught up in it either. But I feel like this has much more potential in The Adjusted Hair for me personally in terms of taste. I'm really trying to go through these books, and I'll just keep trying because I don't want to start anything new, because if I start something new, then I'm just going to completely forget about them and abandon them, and that wouldn't be fair, because I've decided that in 2026, whatever I'm starting, I'm finishing, because I just don't want to keep on having so many unfinished things that I've started and read or watched or whatever, and then not actually got to the end of it, because maybe sometimes I even spoil myself just to know how it ends. But I just don't keep on experiencing the media, and I feel like that's not necessarily lazy, but kind of unfair to me in the first place. That's pretty much it, I think. I'm going to keep on reading Adjusted Hair for now. Then once I'm finished with that, I'm going to decide whether I want to start the second book or get back to Emily Wilde's. And then I have so many books that I'm watching right now downloaded to my Kindle that really deserves a second chance. For some of them, I'm just going to like accept the fact that I did not like them and just delete them. And so yes, probably this is gonna be like the end of this video for now. I've filmed a couple of other things, but they're not really related and they do not fit into this video that I'm going to upload very soon. So, but before like actually saying goodbye, I also wanted to mention that this week I went to the movies as well, and I watched Hamnet and Wuthering Heights. Two very different movies. Through them, I just realized how easy it can be to just present a story with great aesthetics and great cinematography, but you're not trying to say anything. Like, there's no message there, and that was for me Wuthering Heights, I'm sorry to say. Hamnet was a movie with almost no music at all, except the very beautiful soundtrack at the end of the movie. It was a very simple movie, although most of the scenery and the scenes were really gorgeous. They still had this neutrality about them. And still, that movie spoke to me, and I'm sure to so many other people. That's why it's so talked about right now in a great way. And that is basically what I thought about these two movies. For me, Wuthering Heights was just kind of messy and reduced to so much less than what the book was. Listen, I maybe read the book when I was 16. I don't remember much about it, and it's not like my favorite Bronte novel. I actually am a Jane Eyre girl, but I'm going to say that from the casting choice up to really anything that happens in this movie, I was not even entertained. I couldn't even care about these characters that were presented to me on the screen, even if I didn't think about the book at all. Just as its own thing, this movie still wasn't able to move me at all. While watching Hamnet, I was actually crying like a baby for like the last hour of the whole movie, like non-stop sobbing without a care in the world, even though it was actually only like I went to screening around 4 p.m. So like it was just me and my other two friends. So no shame in sobbing in that situation. But I mean, I couldn't actually help myself. I couldn't stop crying because of how emotional the movie was. It was just a climax of emotions, and I think it spoke about so many themes that are so universal, and the fact that it was a movie about William Shakespeare and that everything that happened took place in a completely different world and completely different time than ours, and it still was able to speak to us. Just is kind of telling of how much Shakespeare and certain classics will always be relatable to us. And then also, I don't know, made me realize how certain things that we experience in life, no matter where we are, who we are, just bring us together. It mainly dealt with grief and loss, and how us as people, as human beings, sort of react to it. And I think it was very beautiful to show how we may respond to these things happening to us in a different way, but that doesn't mean that someone cares more and another person cares less just because they don't show it the way that someone else thinks that they should show it. So I'm going to give you a little spoilers because I could talk about this for hours. So Hamnet clearly is a reference to Shakespeare's son, who probably inspired the great tragedy that is Hamlet. They're sort of the same names, and the same is at the very beginning of the movie. And this movie does not only show us about Agnes, even though it was always certain that Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway. So I was really confused about this, but never mind, I didn't care. And it gives us spectacular performances from Paul Mescal to Agnes herself. I don't remember the actress name, but she was really like the star in this movie alongside the little boy who played Hamnet. So the story tells us about how these two people fall in love, and about how still Shakespeare wanted to be his own person and couldn't find a way to be himself in that rural society where he was born. And so she herself encouraged him to go away because their marriage and their relationship was basically falling apart because of this frustration of his, and she just supports him through it all. But then they're about to lose their daughter to an illness. It's the Black Plague, basically, I think. And however, we know that there are these two twins, Hamnet and the other girl that I don't remember her name. But he basically decides to switch sides with her so that death will take him instead of her. And he does this act of bravery out of the love that he feels for her sister. And because there is Shakespeare, while being away, always told him to be the man of the house and sort of be courageous. And so he thinks that by doing that, it will also somehow please his father, and that if that doesn't already break you as it is, and then him being actually scared when he's in the arms of death and still calling for his mom because he's still very scared and can't help to feel like it. My god, that is already very, very heavy. But then also again, it touches in like the power of theater and how it can sort of gives us a space to elaborate our emotions. So after this tragic loss, the marriage is even more compromised. Agnes tells Will to basically go back to London to do his own thing, because she is completely devastated by what she has experienced. Hamlet also died in her arms, and she's also sort of always followed by the fact that she also lost her own mother, and I think she just feels things very deeply. She's sort of referenced by the village as a witch, and so she's a very feeling person, and instead all the Will does is living inside his head, and that's why she doesn't understand how he just can't process the pain the same way, how he doesn't show to be just as devastated as she is. So he leaves, he writes Hamlet, and then she goes to London. She goes to London to see the tragedy, because she's obviously like curious about what it's going to be, since it's named after their child. And she goes there, and she's very skeptical at first, but then she watches the play. She sees Hamlet that has the same fair hair that her little boy had, and she sees this resemblance, and immediately she's sort of stricken by him, and she follows more attentively, I guess, the play. And once she does, she finally understands that her husband has grieved just as badly as her, that he has processed that pain. And we see then Will in the backstage crying like a baby and letting it all out, because that was his way not only to pay homage to his son, but to really process that grief. And through the play, she's also able, I think, to move on at the end, because she laughs at the end of the play when she sees like all the other people attending the playhouse, all just as touched by Hamlet's death as she was, learning about her husband's grief for his loss. She was able to sort of move on and to heal a little bit. And those are like all themes that I don't take close to my heart. I obviously love theater. I love the capacity that theater, but storytelling in general, has to like sort of give us a place to put certain emotions in, especially if they're really heavy things, and to process them differently in a sort of safe space. And that was always, I think, something that sort of attracted me about theater, about stories. And it was also my very way to process things most of the time. Whenever something bad happened to me, I always, I don't know, gave my back to the world and turned myself to stories, either happy ones to just forget about what I was living or what I was going through, or just about learning about other people suffering the same things that I was suffering, about knowing that I could leave those emotions with them, but I didn't have to necessarily, I don't know, process them in reality, which I think might be a little messed up. But listen, we'll all have our ways to cope. And I don't know, I could talk about this movie for the longest time, but like those two themes were really what sort of destroyed me scene after scene. And then also obviously like the performances were just like so great, so good, and I really want to watch it one other time only, because I can never be able to watch it again otherwise. But I want to watch it in the original language, in English, because obviously my screening was in Italian, it was dubbed. There's obviously also this scene where Will sort of recites, is contemplating killing himself, and that's when one of the most famous monologues of his that is inside Hamlet, to be or not to be, and so on, sort of comes to life. And we see that scene, and I think it's very also interesting how, when given context, every line that is this really intricate English or language in general sort of can take on a very specific meaning that we immediately understand. And that was also very fascinating. So I'm going to shut up now because I've talked about it a lot, and I'm just going to say that in some ways I'm very happy about what I've watched lately, but I definitely feel like I need a new obsession, because these books again are not hitting for me. And also it's way too frustrating to wait each week for Friday to watch a new episode of Love Story. But hey, like this Friday, there's not only a new episode of Love Story, but there's also the last 4 episodes of Bridgerton, so maybe I'll have something else to obsess over again. This is basically it. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if I did not like say hi. I just really need to learn to make an intro for each video, and I'm going to try my best to freaking say it in the next one. Also, remind you that my name is Adriana or Dre or Dreamy Dre or wherever you like to call me, and this is my channel, and I'm really glad that you've stood with me and that you've listened to me, and I'm just really curious about what you think if you've watched or heard about any of these things, and how you spent your Valentine's Day, and how you've been this past few days, and what you're looking forward to watch here. And I just hope you'll have a great start of the week or a great midweek, depending on when I finish editing this. And I really appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you very, very soon.